Welcome to The Fight on Matrix Midwest with Randy Carricker and company.
Hi kids, welcome to The Fight. Great to have you with us. That's Andrew, I'm Randy, and we hope you're handling the snow, the ridiculous cold weather, and all of that very well. I made it in, Andrew made it in, so we're happy about that. How'd you handle the weekend?
I think it was okay. I handled it mostly inside. I chose not to go outside too often, and that burned me yesterday when I had to shovel 11 inches off the driveway. But you know what? We're here and we made it.
And we're excited to have a show for you coming up. SLU is good. The Blues are bad. And we have our favorite plays of this NFL season. But let's get things started with our quick hits. And Andrew, the Super Bowl is set for February 8th in Santa Clara, Levi's Stadium. The New England Patriots are back for the first time in 7 seasons, having eliminated Denver in yesterday's AFC Championship game. A driving snowstorm in the second half suppressed scoring, as did multiple Broncos injuries. Didn't have J.K. Dobbins, didn't have their starting quarterback Bo Nix. That hurt. And New England will face the Seahawks after Seattle held off the Rams last night in a surprising shootout. It'll be a couple of relatively new coaches, Mike Vrabel in his first year with the Pats, Mike McDonald in his second season in Seattle. Both coaches come from the defensive side of the ball. Both rely on relatively conservative offenses when they can, but they can light it up as the Seahawks did yesterday. A lot of things to analyze about this, but it sure seems to me like Seattle, at first blush, is the better team.
I'm right there with you. And looking at these conference championship games, I don't think I really was all that surprised about either outcome. I thought that the under was going to smack in the opening game, and I know the snow really helped that cause. And then I thought that we could have seen a shootout just based on what we know the Seahawks and Rams do really well, and that's play offense. I got to tell you, Randy, I'm really happy the Rams lost. And this is not a knock on Kyron Williams, our boy from St. Louis, but I'm really happy that Seattle came away with this. And I'm really happy for Sam Darnold. I mean, this is a guy that had the craziest journey through football. And now, believe it or not, he's the first quarterback in the 2018 draft class to reach the Super Bowl. That's Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen to compete with, and Sam Darnold's the first.
I don't have many bad moods, but the reason that he's happy the Rams lost is that very few times I do have bad moods, the Rams win.
It's just a good feeling on this show when that one team that moved away from this town finds a way to lose.
A little bit of glee. Hey, how about Mizzou's basketball team? Saturday against Oklahoma, Trent Pierce hit a 37-foot three-pointer at the end of regulation to send the game to overtime. Whoo! And then at the end of overtime, Mark Mitchell hit a game-winning three-pointer for an 88-87 win. Mitchell, T.O. Barrett, and Jaden Stone were the 3 Tigers in double figures. In a bunched-up SEC, Andrew, the Tigers, Texas A&M is 6-1, 3 teams are 5-2, and Mizzou and 3 others are 4-3. So the Tigers should have a chance in the conference and a shot at the NCAA tournament.
All I could hear in my ears was my friend Maximus Decimus Meridius screaming, "Are you not entertained?" and I was very entertained. Plus, I said last week, and I'm going to say it again, Mizzou has to keep giving Pierce the basketball. Like, he is one of your best scorers, yet he doesn't show up in the stat sheet all too much because he doesn't get those opportunities. But he hits the big shot in the big moment. Of course, we all had Mark Mitchell hitting the game-winning 3 too, right? It was him no matter what. I would have thought it would be Jaden Stone personally, but Mark Mitchell steps up when the best player on your team needs to step up. But here's the big thing to take away. Mizzou has the reference game now. They have that game that you can look back to. If they string together some wins, you can say it's because of that Oklahoma game.
And you talk about the scoring. I really think that Mizzou only has one good scorer consistently. People pop up here and there, Pierce, Stone now and then, but for the most part, there's just no consistency. And even if they were cooking, I think they'd only have 3 good shooters. I don't think that they're in the same league, for example, as SLU or even Oklahoma.
Also, basketball one-on-one, Randy, foul when you're up 4.
Yeah.
Oklahoma, you had a 4-point lead going into Pierce's game-tying shot to force overtime. You foul in that situation when the clock is under 10 seconds.
Yeah. Speaking of SLU, they just keep hammering the opposition. After getting a scare at Duquesne last week, the Billikens dismantled St. Bonaventure 97-62. SLU shot 58% from the floor and had just 3 players in double figures, but still scored 97 points. St. Louis U is now number 1 in the country with an average point differential of 24.6 points per game. SLU with a huge week. They host George Washington on Tuesday, and then Dayton comes to town on Friday.
You talk about having more than one good scorer on your team. It's this SLU team. And let's just look at a couple of stats from this game. The Billikens made 19 three-pointers. 19. Sharma led the way. He was the leading scorer. Did you know in 20 games, Randy, that 9 different Billikens have been the leading scorer?
That's incredible.
That shows the depth of this group, and that's what makes them so scary as we head toward tournament time, because they can score, they can defend, and they are clutch. Frankly, this team should be undefeated.
And what a great coaching job. You know, we had Josh Ertz on a couple of weeks ago, and he said he was really proud of the buy-in. Well, you have to have the personality to get college players in 2026 to buy in to not getting as many minutes and not getting in as many shots and not getting as many opportunities to get tape. But the buy-in is there for the Billikens. And this group of 9, and you mentioned Sharma, and that's a great stat. 9 different players have led the Billikens in scoring. That's an incredible thing to say and be able to say for a good team in 25-26.
And I love that they have one loss. I know I said they should be undefeated, but this is a team that knows how to face adversity now because of that one loss. I hate undefeated groups for that reason, because you get to an important game and you find yourself trailing with 3 minutes to go and you don't know how to handle it. At least SLU knows what it's like to lose this season.
And that loss, a buzzer beater at Stanford. The Blues lost 2 more games over the weekend. They were shut out in the finale of their 3-game trip in Dallas and then lost in a shootout to the Kings on Saturday. Blues are dropping like a rock to a place they haven't been in 20 years. That's last place in the league. Back in 2005-2006, after trading Chris Pronger, the Blues had 57 points for the worst record in the NHL. Right now, they have a 13.5% chance of getting the #1 overall pick. Can't go wrong with either of the top 2 this year, Otto Stenberg's brother Ivan or Gavin McKenna of Penn State.
I don't even know what to say anymore about the Blues. We started going into this season, and our response was, well, maybe they just weren't as good as we thought they were. And then midway through, we're like, this team is just annoying. They cannot find a way to get 3 wins in a row. Now this team's just not exciting to watch. They're just not a fun group. But there is still reason to wake up in the morning and throw on that Blues quarter zip, and it's for the thing you just said at the back end of that prompt there, Randy. It's you have a chance at the #1 overall pick. And if you are the worst team in hockey, you get a 25% chance at that. Plus, you have some trade bait on your team. You have these rookie forwards in Snuggie and Dvorsky really showing out right now. So if you're a glass half full person, at least you have 3 different points there that you can look into.
And I have developed a question now, because I think Dylan Holloway arguably could be the Blues' most important forward, but you don't know if you can count on him. I don't know if he, like Broberg, is a guy that you extend right away. I want to see him play. I want to see Dylan Holloway play a full season. And by the way, Jeremy Rutherford pointed out in The Athletic, nobody's going to trade for Pavel Buchnevich. That is just dead weight. You know, Doug Armstrong's going to go through his entire GM career without buying anybody out. Maybe that's the first thing Alexander Steen does is buy out or maybe the last thing Army does is buy out Buchnevich.
Well, we also thought no one was going to trade for Justin Falk. And then all of a sudden, Justin Falk looks like he is the Noah Dobson of this season. So maybe Buchnevich next year, like Falk, is going to, provide himself some trade capital.
If they have Buchnevich on their team to start next year, they aren't planning on winning.
I just don't know what they do with that contract other than eat the money right now.
Buy it out. As the NFL head coaching carousel slows down, is it any surprise that of the teams that participated in Black Monday, firing their coaches right after the season ended, the Raiders, Browns, and Cardinals have the last 3 openings? We won't count Buffalo because they had a 2-week delay in their opening, but the other 3 openings are with perhaps the 3 worst organizations in the league. With the Steelers bringing Mike McCarthy home to Pittsburgh on Saturday, the Raiders, Browns, and Cardinals are lagging, just like they do in the standings every year, and it's kind of sad for their fans.
Yeah, you wonder why the 3 worst teams in football don't have their stuff figured out at this moment in time. All you can think of is these teams are waiting for what happens after the Super Bowl. I want my chance at Kubiak, right? That's got to be #1 on a lot of these teams' lists. But what I wonder about is the next head coach, if they're coming into these rooms and they're wondering about the organizational stability, because they know that, hey, the coaches that have been before me have only been here for like 3 or 4 years. Do I want to be one of those guys that kind of comes here to die? Or maybe do I want to become Kevin Stefanski, which I think is just a needle in a haystack in that moment?
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at these 3 organizations. I mean, The Raiders haven't been to a Super Bowl since 2002. The Cardinals have been to one Super Bowl and didn't win it. The Browns have never been to a Super Bowl. So this is something that through multiple iterations and multiple coaches is indigenous to their teams. They just can't succeed and they can't get out of their own way. Maybe the Raiders were just waiting for Tom Brady to get over with his broadcasting season. Maybe they'll get going now.
I'll say this, too. The good thing, the only thing really working for these teams is being an NFL head coach is a dream job.
Yeah.
And anybody's going to want to have that job. So you'll find somebody. We just don't know if it's going to be the right somebody.
And for the Raiders, you'll find somebody else next year. And the Browns, too, and the year after that. Hey, later in the show, you can participate with us in some risky business. All you need to do is stick around and we'll be making a bet and we'll post it to social media. Did not have a great weekend, and we'll tell you about that. If you see something that you like, let us know, and maybe we'll use it as we build a parlay here in the fight. Next up, though, we have our weekend highlights. Stick around. Time now for our takes on the weekend in the sports world, and we'll start with baseball. Andrew, the Guardians kept their best player, signing Jose Ramirez to a 7-year, $175 million extension. The Guardians, that Cleveland market is a lot like the St. Louis market, and I think because of the TV and because of the attendance, we are kind of equal right now as a baseball city with Cleveland, and for them to sign a guy like Ramirez, now he's a veteran, he is the bell cow of their franchise, but they're doing it, and that's the key. And I don't think the Cardinals have anybody in Jose Ramirez's class right now, but if they develop somebody like that, I think that the Guardians are kind of showing the way.
This is a bargain of a deal, too, for Cleveland. Jose Ramirez is one of the best players in baseball, one of the most consistent hitters, and he's somebody that shows up every year, and I don't think takes a step back. In fact, he probably takes a step forward. And if you're talking about developing somebody in the Cardinal system, you need J.J. Wetherholt to be the Jose Ramirez.
And this contract will take Ramirez through age 32 in Cleveland. Meanwhile, Cubs left-hander Justin Steele, who underwent elbow surgery early last season, says that, quote, while he doesn't have a specific timeline for his return to the majors, he expects to face hitters at some point during spring training, and added that he's not only suffered no setbacks, but is ahead of schedule, if anything. Right now, before Steele is back, the Cubs have a rotation of Edward Cabrera, Matthew Boyd, Jamison Tyone, Cade Horton, and Shoto Imanaga, plus Colin Ray and Javier Assad, who both have had great moments with the Cubs, too. I'm really intrigued by this team. Not that I want to see them win, but they get Steele back, and they've got 8 starting pitchers. They can afford to take a couple of hits. They've rebuilt their bullpen during the offseason. Obviously, getting Alex Bregman is huge. I think the Cubs are a pretty darn good team right now, and if you're the Brewers, who keep winning all the time, you have to be concerned about what the Cubs have done.
Yeah, and I think the Cubs are going to be that team that comes out of the NL Central this season. Just if you look at what they have on paper, you replace Kyle Tucker with Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman actually looked really good in the first half of the season, and just don't pay attention to anything that happened when he was, up and down with injury. It's kind of like looking at Kyle Tucker's second half in Chicago. The Dodgers didn't think anything of that when they signed him to a big deal. Alex Bregman will be a little bit of the same, and that lineup is still so loaded. But when you talk about the rotation, they don't even need Steele. Steele could be out completely, and that rotation would be fine. Edward Cabrera was the best signing that you probably, or rather the best trade that you probably could have made this offseason.
And I don't know how you feel about this. I think in the National League, all due respect to Dave Roberts, who's won a couple of world championships, I think the best guy in the National League at building a bullpen, putting a bullpen together, best manager, is Craig Counsell. He can take pieces and he can make the sum greater than its parts. And they do it year after year. He did it in Milwaukee. He did it last year with Chicago. And they've added Phil Maton and a couple of other relief pitchers. They'll wind up with a good bullpen because their manager knows how to build one.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that one bit. I think Dave Roberts does a tremendous job of managing the bullpen that's in front of him, but he also gets all of the best arms. I mean, you go back and look just last season when they tried to sign Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott, though it didn't really work out for them. He still had to manage that bullpen in the World Series and did such a tremendous job. But you can do that when you have high-paid players on your team. Counsell, on the other hand, has to kind of create that, and he's done a great job of that too.
And oh, by the way, How about just bringing Justin Steele back slowly as a bullpen guy?
Yeah, that could work. I mean, when you have 7 or 8 starting pitchers already, why try to ramp a guy up and cause maybe a longer stay on the IL? I think it's a good call to maybe give Steele some innings as like a 2-3 inning work guy in the 7th inning.
Meanwhile, let's talk more NFL besides the Super Bowl. In addition to the Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy to replace Mike Tomlin, Green Bay hired former Cardinals coach Jonathan Gannon as their defensive coordinator, replacing Jeff Hafley, who became the head coach of the Dolphins. And John Harbaugh and the Giants hired Denard Wilson as their defensive coordinator. He had been the DC in Tennessee. Wilson was the DB's coach for John Harbaugh back in his Baltimore days, so he sticks with somebody who's familiar to him. Harbaugh has control of that Giants organization right now. He's putting a good staff together. They've got good talent. If I'm Dallas, if I'm Philadelphia, if I'm Washington, I'm really concerned about the Giants next year.
Yeah, I think, too, with Harbaugh hiring Wilson, he's not looking at anything that happened over the last 2 years in Tennessee.
Oh, you can't.
It's all about what happened in Baltimore and how successful he was there. And he's like, yeah, I know that he's a smart mind, and I'm bringing smart individuals into this room. The Giants are a dangerous team. They have everything that you would want to like out of a young team, too. So they have the ability to even go out and sign some pieces because they don't have a lot of big contracts out there. And if you kind of look at what the Steelers are doing, and I know, I mean, you were on this point too. A lot of fans weren't very happy with the Mike McCarthy signing. It was like pulling a green shirt while off the rack while you were wearing a green shirt. That's how a lot of fans looked at it. Mike McCarthy, though, is still a guy that can get you into the playoffs, and that's what the Steelers do best, is go to the playoffs.
Well, but here's the thing. What did the Steelers, what's held them back, right? Having a quarterback. Well, Mike McCarthy developed Dak Prescott. He developed Aaron Rodgers. Way back in his New Orleans days, he went to the playoffs with Aaron Brooks and got a 49-touchdown season out of the offense with Aaron Brooks when he was the OC there. And he'll build a good staff. The other thing that Mike McCarthy is right now is the best coach in the AFC North. You're going to tell me that Zach Taylor is as good as Mike McCarthy? I'm not buying it. You're telling me that Jesse Minter is a better coach than Mike McCarthy? I haven't seen it. And Cleveland doesn't have anybody yet. Mike McCarthy right now is the best coach in the AFC North.
I understand like the level of emotion. I don't want to say that they aren't happy or they're overly happy. I understand the feeling of being stale, right? I understand that stale feeling because they know Mike Tomlin gets to the playoffs but struggles to win in the playoffs. They've seen that with Mike McCarthy. Even in Dallas, he'd go 12-5 with one of the best records and best teams out there, but unable to get that playoff win. So I understand the feeling of Steelers fans, but I always lean back to you also could be a team that doesn't make the playoffs.
And we've talked about this before, but when you win 4 Super Bowls in 6 years in the 70s, when Cowher wins, when Tomlin wins, as a fan, you start to think it's easy. It's not easy to win a Super Bowl. And it's not easy to win a playoff game. It's not easy to win a game. It's not easy to make the playoffs. Unfortunately for Steelers fans, they were spoiled, a lot like Cardinal fans, and they think that winning championships is easy. It's not. And one thing that Mike McCarthy has done is he's won football games.
And is Aaron Rodgers coming back? I mean, we don't know, for sure. And that's what everybody's leaning, that he's coming back. Well, who did Aaron Rodgers work with?
Yeah,
worked with Mike McCarthy.
Yep.
And so, you kind of want that relationship, too, as you go out and draft a quarterback, have Aaron Rodgers mold that guy to be the next great quarterback in Pittsburgh. But Mike McCarthy and Rodgers' relationship, I think, is such a big thing to recognize.
We'll keep you up to date here on the college basketball rankings for SLU, Mizzou, and Illinois. Right now, Illinois is number 6 in the net rankings. SLU is 19th in the net rankings, and Mizzou is 69. As a refresher, the net rankings are the big one that the NCAA Tournament Committee looks at. In the KenPom rankings, he's highly respected at CBS. Illinois is number 4. SLU is number 24, and Mizzou is number 56.
Yeah, this is something to just really pay attention to. The fact that all of these teams are top 75 in the net, I think is really important because that means they're looked at as quad 1 wins and losses, and that's what the NCAA Tournament Committee really keeps an eye on. And then KenPom is what you pay attention to once you get into the tournament, because once you look at efficiency ratings and then you go back and look at history, if you find yourself as a top 40 offensive team, top 25 defensive team coming into the tournament, you're going to have a really good chance of winning the title.
And finally, if you hadn't noticed, the PGA Tour is back and at the American Express in La Quinta, California over the weekend. Scotty Scheffler rallied from a 2-shot deficit. Where have we heard this before? To take a 4-shot win. It's Scotty's 20th tour victory. He joins Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods as PGA players with 20 wins before they reached age 30. Of course, he got started later than either of those two. Next week, the tour moves to San Diego for the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines, and this is the last time that it's going to be the Farmers Insurance Open. They're getting out of the tournament sponsoring business.
New year, same Scheffler, right?
Yeah.
New year, same guy, and he looked phenomenal. It's funny, I really wasn't even paying a lot of attention to golf this weekend, just because it's still football season for me. And then you would kind of like, I would scroll through the TV guide, and I'm like, wait a second, golf's back on? And then you kind of click over and you start, my first look is always to the bottom right corner, and I want to see where everybody is listed. And then, of course, you see Scotty climbing the ranks. So what do you start doing? You start watching golf religiously.
And here's my question about next weekend. No football. You've got college basketball, you've got NBA, but you have the Farmers Insurance Open with Brooks Koepka returning and Scheffler in the tournament. So golf can take the center of the sports world next weekend if Koepka is involved and in the hunt on Saturday and Sunday. It really is amazing how the PGA found it that weekend for him to come back.
Well, and talk about taking over the sports world. What did I do this weekend when Scotty Scheffler started climbing back up? I started watching.
You bet.
Everybody watches when the greats are playing well. You don't really like to watch when it's a name you haven't recognized. It's funny watching Scheffler say after the tournament too how he felt rusty, like coming in, and I'm like, yeah, okay, guy, you don't ever get rusty.
Right.
You're playing on your simulator at home. I know it's a little bit different once you get back out on the course, but you by far are the #1 in the world and have been for so long now. I don't think Scheffler ever gets rusty.
And you think about this. The Tiger won that Masters, his first tournament when he was 21 years old. Jack Nicklaus was 22 when he won his. Scotty Scheffler was 25 when he won his first tournament. And now he ties those guys with 20 tournament wins before the age of 30. Now, they had way more than 20 before they reached the age of 30. But his pace, if he stays in shape and he stays hot and he doesn't get involved in extracurricular activities like Tiger did, and I don't think that Scotty will, he has a chance to catch those guys. I don't know if he'll catch those guys in the majors department, but that 82 PGA Tour wins is certainly within reach.
Well, don't say that too soon now, Randy. We did see Scheffler wearing an orange jumpsuit at one point.
We did.
So he did find his way into some extracurriculars. By the way, Scheffler has 16 straight top 10 finishes.
Unbelievable.
16 straight. That's what makes him the best in the world.
All right, coming up in the list, our favorite plays from the 2025 NFL season. It's coming your way here in The Fight. With just the Super Bowl to go, what were the plays of the year in the NFL in 2025? We will give you our list, and Andrew, I'll get things started with this one. In early October, the Titans were the worst team in the NFL, and the Cardinals had started 2-0 and were trying to get to 3-2 after a couple of tough losses in the division. With Arizona up 21-6 at home early in the fourth quarter against the Titans, they hand the ball to Amari DiMercato from their own 30, and he takes off, and we're thinking, okay, we're going to get a 70-yard touchdown run, and the Cardinals are going to be up 27-6. But the problem here is that DiMercato tosses the ball away before he crosses the goal line. The Cardinals would blow the 21-6 lead, lose to the Titans, fall to 2-3, and win just one more game the rest of the season. What a disaster. Then they fired Jonathan Gannon when the season was over. DiMercato, by the way, was their third running back. They had lost their starter, James Conner. They had lost their second guy, Trey Benson. They lost him. DiMercato eventually wound up with a couple of guys off the couch, and that's no way to try to win in the NFL.
Yeah, and I don't know if DiMercato is going to have a true job after moments like that either. I still don't understand why players do this.
It's unbelievable.
Like, why even let go of the football ever? Like, just hold on to it. Celebrate with it. Take it to the sideline with you. Just keep a hold of that football. But every season we see this, and I don't understand why it doesn't change.
There had been a play like that the week before. Yeah, it's just crazy.
It is all the time. And now, remind me, was this the game, too, at the very end when Cam Ward threw a pick and Arizona fumbled the interception and then it kicked into the end zone and Lockett recovered it? That was the same game?
Yeah.
Oh, and it all started with DeMercado's fumble.
Yeah, that's being an Arizona Cardinal fan.
That's what happens when you're bad.
Or a St. Louis Cardinal fan back in the day.
All right, my number 3. Can we have a season without Patrick Mahomes doing something stupid? And I mean stupid as great. Only one man can pull it off. Week 1, we got vintage Patrick Mahomes. Watch. As he goes totally airborne, steps up through the pocket, airborne, and completes a third down pass. Totally off balance, and converts on third down. Now, this wasn't a game-winning play or even one that changed the momentum of the game. Just a play that had us all saying, yeah, only Patrick Mahomes could make that play.
He truly is amazing, and I won't be at all surprised if he's there on opening day next year making those sorts of plays for the Chiefs, and they're right back in the hunt. That organization's too smart to allow what happened this year to happen again. I think anybody who's comfortable thinking, oh, well, that's it for the Chiefs, that the dynasty is over, I think I think that the thought of their demise might be a little bit over-exaggerated.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Did anybody ever think when Brady wasn't playing very well or might have gotten hurt for a stint that their dynasty was over in New England? Did anybody ever think that?
We were hoping.
Right? We all hoped, and maybe you're hoping that the Chiefs don't have consistent success like we've seen, but Patrick Mahomes is that X factor, and anytime he's involved, they have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
And I'll tell you what, if I were a player or a fan of a player, I would rather have that player get a torn ACL than a ruptured Achilles. You come back from ACLs.
Yeah.
Man, it's hard to come back from those Achilles injuries.
I hope no player has to deal with that,
Yeah.
but I'm with you. I think ACL injuries are a lot easier to strengthen up. And actually, we saw it with Wainwright, and I mentioned it last week with the Achilles coming back after 5 months. Now, baseball's a lot different than football in this case. But ACL injuries, you can get a lot stronger. We've seen it with Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
And Nick Chubb's had it like 7 different times, and he's still playing football.
All right, my number 2. We talk a lot about statement games in sports, and the AFC South champion Jaguars had one of those on Monday night, October 6th. Kansas City had built a 14-0 lead, but Jacksonville rallied to tie. And with Mahomes and the Chiefs on the march, ready to take the lead again in the third quarter, Devin Lloyd of the Jags with the pick and the 6. He races 99 yards for a touchdown. That gave Jacksonville not only the lead, but the momentum in this game. They were behind in the final minute, but Lloyd had set them up for another statement play. And this is unbelievable that it happened to Kansas City, because you're thinking, okay, this doesn't happen to the Chiefs. What we knew of the Chiefs before, they were going to win the game. And just a moment later, towards the end of the game, final minute, Trevor Lawrence went over for the winner in one of the most unconventional one-yard runs that you will ever see. And the Jaguars wound up beating the Chiefs, and they wound up winning their last 8 games, and they wound up winning their division, and they really set themselves up for a great future. This guy's only 26 years old. You know, it seems like he's been around forever. Trevor Lawrence is still a young player. They appear to have a really good coach in Liam Cohen. And oh, by the way, Travis Hunter, the first-round pick, plays offense and defense. He got hurt. He wasn't even a part of all of that winning.
You know, that play by Trevor Lawrence was almost a choice for me until I saw that you had the Lloyd pick 6 to set it up. So I'm really happy that you ended with that play, too, because that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
No Jags fan thought he was scoring there. No, frankly, no football fan thought he was going to score after falling down twice. And the fact that the Chiefs took so long to get to Trevor Lawrence in that moment was pretty amazing to me.
Right. It changed the course of their season, too. And obviously, Chris Jones took a lot of and well-deserved criticism for that play.
A lot of one-score losses for the Chiefs. Don't see that too often.
No.
All right, my number 2. This is single-handedly the best catch all year. Puka Nacua.
Stafford floats it. Nakua's the target.
I mean, are you kidding me? Are you flipping kidding me? Puka Nacua. What?
Yeah.
You know, they teach us the 5 W's in school, Randy, and the H, right? All I need to ask here is what and how. How did you make that catch? The fact that it was one-handed with the right hand, too. I mean, he is going up like his glove hand in baseball is the right hand there.
Unreal.
And making a diving catch. Nobody else can make that play but Puka Nacua.
No, everything is compared right now to what Odell Beckham Jr. did for the Giants against the Cowboys many years ago. That is right there. And who else? Somebody else had a one-handed Odell Beckham
It was
catch
Treylon Burks.
On Sunday Night Football, right?
Right. It was Treylon Burks in the end zone. And that catch was amazing, too. Could have easily combated Puka for best catch of the year. But just what I've seen from Puka, and I know I keep saying Puka. This is a guy that should be in the Hall of Fame someday just based on what he's able to do. And,
you know, what's interesting is his mentor yesterday put himself in the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp, who after 2018 we would have thought he's a Hall of Famer too. I don't think that's going to happen. So hopefully, well, no, he's a Ram, so I can't root for Puka Nacua. All right, my number one, speaking of the Rams, Week 16, the Seahawks with a game. Well, let's just play the video here. This is against the Rams, down 37-30, and Darnold hits Smith and Jigba for the touchdown to make it a 37-36 game. And then Mike McDonald decides to go for two and try to win it. And here is the play. He throws to Barner for the 2-point conversion and the winner for Seattle. So this is kind of a 2-for-1 because it's a touchdown and the 2-point conversion. That was a winning 2-point conversion for the Seahawks over the Rams in Week 16 that pretty much gave Seattle the NFC West.
Yeah, and you know, you can look at this as, hey, the confidence in a close game and a high-scoring game that they know that they can pull it off on their home turf, and they did it again in the NFC Championship game. That was a great drawn-up play call, too. Barner was wide open. I don't think the Rams had any idea that the football was going to him in that moment, and that is just help due because of Jackson Smith and Jigba in the season he was having at the time. He was in double, triple coverage, and Barner just finds himself wide open right in the middle.
By the way, 3 great games between those teams this year. The first one in L.A., Myers misses the long field goal that would have won it for Seattle. That's the one where Darnold threw the 4 interceptions. The next one was that one, and then in the NFC Championship game last night.
All right, my number one. Numero uno, wild card football, Bears.
I wasn't even going
Packers.
Bears. I was just going to leave the Bears, the slate completely open for you.
Because there were so many moments to choose from, but I'm sticking with this one. This is a game Chicago had no business winning at halftime. But as Creed's chorus of Higher was playing over the loudspeakers in my cousin's basement, Caleb Williams found DJ Moore for the go-ahead touchdown. I mean, just talk about perfect timing. It was the line that screamed, "Can you take me higher?" And I was just, oh my gosh, I think I blacked out. I know I was pumping my fist in the air. I know I might have jumped over the couch a couple of times. But I might have blacked out here at the fact that the Bears came back on the Packers and won this football game.
Okay, I think this is right there among the plays of the year. It was awesome. By the way, what network was this on?
Amazon Prime.
Oh, Amazon Prime. Okay, good. Is DJ Moore back with the Bears next year?
I think so. I do.
Okay.
I think what he showed in the playoffs gets him back on the field next year.
Okay. The reason I ask is because he's making a lot of money. Burden certainly ascended during the course of the season. Robodunze is going to be there. I just wonder if financially, and I guess because you still have Williams on his rookie contract, you can do it, if they keep Moore around. I think that he is a necessary part of that offense.
And I also think, too, what the Bears saw in the injury department this year has them thinking we need to keep DJ Moore because Rome was out for a significant time. There was worry that Burden might have been out for the season with a leg injury late in the season. And so the only real constant, the only guy to stay healthy was DJ Moore. And even though he didn't play very well this year, he did start to kind of build back up. And I think that was just a little bit of his own selfishness. He had to relinquish a lot of that number one tag to Rome, to Burden at different points. And that just bettered him and the team.
Yeah, they're set up for a really good future with the Chicago Bears. Next up, risky business. We're going to build a little bit of a parlay and tell you how we did with the weekend. I didn't do great. That's coming up next in the fight. Hey, it's another First Alert weather day, and if you're ever out in the cold weather, shoveling or just walking, and you have chest pain, don't just take for granted that pain is going to go away. If it lingers when you get inside, be safe and get in touch with my friends at St. Luke's. I was at St. Luke's last week, as a matter of fact, for my semi-annual checkup, and they told me I look great. Well, St. Luke's is the only hospital in the area to have an alliance with the Cleveland Clinic Heart, Vascular, and Thoracic Institute. St. Luke's offers expedited appointments with heart specialists. If you're looking for a second opinion, your heart diagnosis deserves a second look, and you deserve to feel confident in your treatment plan. So here's what you need to do. get in touch with St. Luke's, because at their Heart and Vascular Institute, they pour their hearts into taking care of your heart. Call 314-205-6801 today for world-class compassionate treatment, 314-205-6801, or find them on the web at stlukes-stl.com. All right, it's time to build a parlay, and sometimes we do well on this little program and in this segment, sometimes we don't. All right, I got in on Jared Stidham at under 187.5. I think he ended at 199.5, but he only passed for 133. Thank you, Snow. So I got that one, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, on that one, you might have taken...
I think the Seahawks minus 2.5. Yeah. I think that was a hit.
Yep. And then our other one for the Sunday games, I had Darnold to throw 2+ interceptions. He didn't throw any.
Yeah, he was pretty smart with the football. That one, I know I had the under in the Patriots-Broncos game, which was a no sweat. And I say I think I had the Seahawks minus 2.5. Do you know how many bets I just place in a weekend?
How many?
I probably place like 15 bets in a weekend. So there's a reason why I can't keep track of anything.
All right, so let's take a look at today and tonight. The Boston Celtics, even without our buddy Jason Tatum, are playing really well this season. They have the second best record in the East, behind only the Detroit Pistons. And the Celtics are an 8.5-point favorite tonight at home against the Blazers. And I'm going to take them at minus 105 to cover that.
All right. I haven't watched enough NBA to know if that's a good bet or not. But since you watch a lot of it.
Portland's in disarray since they lost their coach.
Great point.
Yeah. So they've had a really rough time, and going to the Eastern time zone in Boston
it's a
playing
long
well
way
is
to
really
travel.
tough. Yeah.
Long way to go. Okay. All right. You know what? That's fine. I like to trust other people.
By the way, that's the Chauncey Billups gambling story. If you aren't aware of them losing their coach is under indictment.
What happened in that story, Randy? Yeah. I don't remember that story.
Yeah, just Google that guy.
Okay, so this is, I think, going to be one of the best games on the hockey slate tonight. It's Boston against New York. You're going to have some fans that are like this in the stands. And, Boston is the home team. Am I correct when I say that?
I believe.
Let's go back here and double check.
New York.
At New York. Okay, so Boston on the road. So I like going home team in matchups like this. I wanted to chase the Morgan Geekie goal train. I was on that for a long time. He ended up scoring like 3 times over the past 3 games. So I'm going to lean JT Miller's value here. When he scored that slap shot on the Blues in overtime, I'm just like, wow, this guy can still play. I'm going to lean value here over what I think will probably happen in Panarin scoring.
All right, so we've got Boston to cover against Portland, and we've got JT Miller to score a goal. That is our parlay for this show, and we're going to put $100 on this baby, and we are going to come away, if we win, with a $495 payout.
Gotta like that.
That is a good one. And that is building a parlay, a little risky business here in the fight. Coming up, we've got Take It or Leave It, story time with Uncle. It is time now for Take It or Leave It here in the fight. And we mentioned earlier that Jonathan Gannon, fired by the Arizona Cardinals at the end of the season, was hired as the Packers' new defensive coordinator as the Packers lost their DC, Jeff Hafley, as the new head coach of the Dolphins. Andrew, take it or leave it, Gannon has a better job now, defensive coordinator of the Packers, better than head coach of the Cardinals.
Ooh, this is a tough one because it's hard to say that any job is better than being a head coach. Also, being a head coach in Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona is a pretty good place to be versus Lambeau. But you have the history of Lambeau. I'm going to take it. Situationally, I think that's better for Gannon because now he can kind of rebuild his status as a coach and could probably find himself as a head coach again if he has a lot of success.
You have a better chance to win, a much more committed organization, and you have there's a lot of residue that you have when you're associated with a franchise like the Cardinals. The Packers can clean all that residue off.
Right.
This is definitely a better job with a brighter future than the head coach of the Cardinals.
And the Packers have one of the best defenses in all of football.
Right.
You have the best defensive play. Well, I shouldn't say that.
he'll be
Miles
coming
Garrett
back.
might have something to say
Right,
about
but
that.
Parsons will be coming back.
Right. One of the best.
And Gannon already won a Super Bowl, so he's got that pedigree.
True.
With Phil. Or did he go to the Super Bowl and lose?
Was that the one that they lost to Casey? They lost to Casey, and then he got the new job.
Right.
Yes. Gosh. See, I think a lot of people are just happy that the Chiefs and the Eagles aren't in the Super Bowl this year.
Coach Vermeil always said, it's just as tough to get to a Super Bowl as it is to win a Super Bowl. And he's exactly right. I mean, if you're Philly, you lost that game 38-35.
Right.
Right? How many plays were there in that game when you lose by a field goal where you could have won it?
Yeah, there's at least a handful.
Yeah.
You could look back on and say, I should have kicked it here, or I shouldn't have gone for it there. Yeah. It's a lot of things that you can rest your head on, but that got Jonathan Gannon his job in Arizona.
It sure did. Yeah, giving up 38 points to Patrick Mahomes.
Right. Meanwhile, Ohio State is finalizing a deal to make former Pittsburgh Steelers play caller Arthur Smith its OC. That's according to Adam Schefter. My take it or leave it for you is this, Randy. Arthur Smith will win a national championship before any new head coach in the NFL wins a Super Bowl.
We'll leave that. I don't think Arthur Smith is very good.
Okay.
And I'm questioning these moves of Ryan Day, getting Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia's, he's not a great football coach. They have a lot of talent. I think things will go backwards for Ohio State. And I think one of these coaches, especially one of the guys that's in a good spot, whether it is Buffalo or Baltimore, Jesse Minter, I think one of those guys will win a Super Bowl before Arthur Smith wins a championship with Ohio State.
So I'm going to leave it for a different reason. But I like where you went with that. The reason I'm leaving it is because of today's football and the NIL world about how hard it is to win a national championship now. Before it was always the Alabamas, Ohio States, the Georgias, right? Now it's so hard to win a national championship. And yeah, we talked about the Super Bowl too being so hard to win. But for a team that has to compete against, what they are now in college football, I think that's harder to do than to get and win to a Super Bowl.
If I were Ryan Day, I would have gone back to Chip Kelly and said, "Hey, let's bring it back."
I like Chip Kelly. I like Chip Kelly.
I would have much rather had Chip Kelly as my OC than Arthur Smith.
The good news is, and you said it too, the talent that Ohio State have is flooded.
Right.
So Arthur Smith will look fine out there on the field.
Yeah. Well, if he's willing to throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith, right? If he has Julian Saying throwing the ball.
Right.
Okay, time now for story time with Uncle Randy. We're going to pick a decade. We're going to pick a sport, and we'll give you a little story. Okay, we're going to start with the decade from my sports fandom, and this is going to be in the 1980s. This is a pretty good time. Okay, so let's get a sport for you, and this will be fun. I'm going to go late in the 80s. Whatever the sport is, we're going to go late 80s hockey.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
80s hockey. Here we go.
Okay, let's see. Can I go? You know what I'll do?
What are you going to do?
I'll do one of the really sad times in St. Louis Blues history. And that is when Brian Sutter and Bernie Federko had a falling out, and the Blues traded Bernie Federko at the end of his career for his last season to the Detroit Red Wings, and he just did not look right. Nobody looks right in that jersey. It's a stupid wheel with a stupid wing. But no, Bernie just did not look right in that jersey. Now, did the Blues wind up making a great deal? Yes, they got Adam Oates back in return for Bernie Federko, and he wound up being great. It was Bernie and Tony McKegney for Oatesy and somebody else. But anyway, it was just really sad because Bernie should have been a career Blue. And what happened was Brian Sutter, when Bernie got the C, Brian Sutter was kind of upset that Bernie had that sort of say in the locker room. And the other part of it was, this is kind of weird. Brian Sutter was the Blues coach at the time. He got upset that Tony McKegney broke his all-time record for goals by a left wing with the St. Louis Blues. So they wound up trading. Good player, but you can't break my record because I'm the head coach. So that was the trade. And obviously, the Blues wound up having Hull and Oates. It wound up becoming a really prolific tandem for the Blues and getting Adam Oates. But it was just a bummer to lose Bernie Federko, who was, when I was 14, he got here. And I had been in the business for a long time, already 6 or 7 years when they traded him. He's a guy that should have spent his entire career with the Blues.
Well, you talk about looking wrong in somebody else's jersey.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of examples of that. Pujols looked wrong in an Angels jersey. Every time
I thought he looked more wrong in a Dodgers.
Maybe that,
At least the Angels was red.
That is true. That is true. I guess I think of even Tarasenko, right? He's gone. He was a Red Wing at one point.
Yeah.
Looks weird in that jersey. There's just a lot of players that when you know about them as a part of your team, and you're like, this is the franchise guy, this is the core. They go somewhere else. It's just a weird look all around.
All right, that's story time with Uncle Randy. Now it's time for this date in sports history. And if Andrew would have been alive, he would have loved this date in 1986. Super Bowl 20 at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Andrew's Chicago Bears hammer the Patriots in the Super Bowl 46-10, and everybody knew that the Bears were going to win this game. Richard Dent, defensive end, was the MVP of the Super Bowl, and the Patriots never really had a chance. When you see some of the highlights from this game, you can tell that it was men among boys. The Patriots were just completely overwhelmed in this game.
People always say I was born in the wrong decade, and it's probably because of my taste in music. I'm an 80s fan. No, you know what I think it is now, Randy? I think I was born in the wrong decade because I should have been watching the Bears win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Bears shuffling crew, and you can tell from the time they walked out. And then you see Singletary going crazy, and watch Tony Eason just under siege all day long. And there's Dan Hampton, and there's Otis Wilson. I mean, that was just such an incredible Bears defense. And then they bring Steve Grogan into the game, their backup quarterback. He has no chance. We get a little pick six here. 46-10.
Yeah, that's a blowout.
The only bad part of this, Refrigerator Perry scored a touchdown, and Walter Payton did not score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then the coach winds up getting his
I still don't
own
understand
Super
how they didn't win multiple Super Bowls with a
Bowl.
team
They should
like
have
that.
been, because they were 14-2 every year. It was unbelievable that they didn't win more, and that they didn't even get to another
Right,
round.
that's
Now you're
what's
going
so
against
crazy.
The Giants and the Redskins in the late 80s, and that's
Great
what
teams.
prevented them. Yeah,
Right,
but
great teams.
the Bears were right there. They were pretty awesome, and that was, for one season, best defense I've ever seen. Hey, you know, we're on this show every single day, 5 p.m., 10 p.m., and then 7 in the morning here on Matrix Midwest. And at matrixmidwest.com, you can sign up to participate in the fight. We record it Tuesdays, and we will air you fighting against me on Wednesdays. They've got a little bit of a streak going, so that's pretty good. Just go to matrixmidwest.com, go to the Carricker and Company drop down, and fill out the form so that you can participate in the fight. Good to have you make it through the cold here.
You know what? I'm so happy to be here, and I'm ready to be back for every show the rest of the week.
All right. Hey, thanks for tuning in. For Andrew and our director, Tyler Klaus, I'm Randy Carricker. Have a magnificent Monday. We'll see you next time, everyone.